Hi, how you doing? This is Paulie from the Main Street Market Exchange. I'm glad you joined me. This is the 8th of the 12 short videos that I promised you that I would do to try to help folks like you to understand how you can partner with or work with or deal with or benefit from the Main Street Market Exchange. And this particular 8th video has to deal with distributorships. And if you look in the library section again for our revenue generating plan, how this fits in, it's plan 8. It's my favorite one. It's gonna be a little bit longer than the others, but it's my favorite one, and it pertains specifically to distributorships and how you can work with the Main Street Market Exchange as a distributor. Now, on this sheet, on the Main Street sheet that I just showed you, it talks about real estate deals or distributorship. And I did that because a lot of folks gravitate to the idea that you can make a ton of money in real estate. But as you're thinking of the distributorship, being a distributor for the Main Street Market Exchange, I want you to think like car dealership, like having your local Toyota car dealership in your town, or your local Yamaha motorcycle dealership, or your John Deere dealership. Or maybe you can think of this in a way like a franchisee of the Main Street Market Exchange, although it's not. Or maybe like a Culligan water distributorship where you have the Philadelphia area as your territory, or possibly a Century 21 office. Think of it that way. But a distributorship that you have the capacity to deal with the Main Street Market Exchange in a big way. That benefits you. But also by claiming a defined territory, we have to add structure to it, a defined territory in your area. It doesn't limit you because you can do deals anywhere via the internet. Is fantastic. If you were in Los Angeles and you want to do a deal in Wisconsin, you can do it. You know, I've had an enormous amount of experience in business in my life, from my lending days, commercial lending days and in banking, to my days as a managing member of an international sales company, to my own executive recruiting company where I called on presidents and senior vice presidents of bank to place commercial lenders in their bank, as well as my charity work of finding St. Joe's Home for the Poor and that kind of stuff, which we'll talk about another time possibly. I've had a lot of experience, and you know, this goes back to 1993, where I wrote Be Your Own Boss. It's a packet of information I think I've mentioned previously with the tapes and whatever, and 100 businesses for under $40,000 each, with a mentor, if you will, that knew that business that you could tap into, like a quasi franchise for a lot less expensive. And the Be Your Own Boss packet of information has evolved, in the truest sense of the word, evolved into the Main Street Market Exchange, which I'm very proud of. But with all that experience, I've come to understand that how a lot of folks, both rich folks with some money and some very, very poor folks, how they approach business. And not too long ago, I bumped into a young guy, really fine young guy, about 25 years old, and he says, "Hey, Paulie, how you doing? I'm so glad, man. How you been? How you doing? How's everything?" You know, gave me a hug and said, "Oh man, thanks so much for the boot camp." I had sent it via friend to him for him to take a look at for free, and he got a chance to look at the 14 sessions of the boot camp. And he goes, "Oh," I said, "Well, how did you like the book?" He goes, "Oh my gosh, boy, this is unbelievable. The first 3 are great." I said, "What about the other 11?" "Well, I haven't had a chance to look at them, but I will." "How are you going to make me rich, Paulie? How are you going to make me rich? Come on, make me rich." And I got to thinking, you know, I've set up the distributorships so that folks who really want to succeed can succeed, who really want to make money can make money. And for folks who really want to solicit plans and fully develop plans and fund plans and or deal with whatever way they want to, like you want to just deal with another distributor to flip houses in your area, if that's what you want to do, whatever way you want to. But I had to add some structure to it so that I'm not dealing with tire kickers and folks who just want to fool themselves a lot. And there's a lot of tire kickers out there. I've dealt with so many tire kickers over the year, spent thousands of hours dealing with folks who basically want to kick tires for the rest of their lives. God bless them, but I'm looking for serious folks. So let me tell you what a distributorship is not. A distributorship with the Main Street Market Exchange is not multi-level marketing. It's not at all. You don't have to, nobody in your downline. You don't have to recruit your brothers and your sisters and your friends or whatever to sell vitamins. It's not multi-level marketing. It's not network marketing, although you'll be networking, so to speak, communicating with other distributors all over the place in the United States when you want to. And it's not a franchise. It's not a Subway franchise or a McDonald's franchise. It's a defined physical territory that you grasp hold of, your town or your county, depending on the size of it. And it's a designated city or territory. So you might say you get Philadelphia County or Delaware County or the city limits of Philadelphia or the city limits of Los Angeles. Just to define some structure, so to speak, but you're not limited by that geographical location. In other words, like I said previously, you can deal virtually anywhere around the country, and you would have first dibs on a lot of stuff, and we'll get into that. But I just want to tell you what it's not. Now, before I get into briefly explaining some of the benefits, and again, we're going to really talk on distributorships and other videos and in webinars and whatnot for you to be clear. But before I briefly explain some of the 5 benefits, I could give you 1,000 benefits, well, maybe not 1,000, but I'll give you a lot of benefits about being a distributor. I just want to give you the 3 criteria that I have at the Main Street Market Exchange to see if I believe you're a match for us. You may believe, hey, I'm a match for you, Paulie, but I want to give you the 3 criteria that I have to see that if you're a match for us, sort of like the qualifying things for you to be a distributor with us. And the first criteria I have is that you got to be hungry. In other words, you have to want to work hard and not fool yourself. You got to want to go after things, whether it's fully developed plans, you just want to solicit plans, whether you want to solicit advertising, whether you want to solicit millionaires, whether you want to write grants, whether you want to just close it on the closing end, all the deals, you want to just be the closer and execute like a title clerk at the end. There's a zillion things you could do with this at the exchange, but I need somebody who's hungry. Or for a distributorship, you got to be hungry. You got to want to succeed. Why? Because folks that want to succeed are really hungry to succeed. They're not troublemakers. They want to go out and they want to make money, so they want to target things. There are no goals per se with the Main Street Market Exchange that you got to do a zillion plans a month or whatever to do it. I'll talk about that in a second. It's just you got to be hungry. I've spoon-fed folks so much over the years with Be Your Own Boss and other things that I've been doing, and I can't spoon-feed folks anymore. So you got to be hungry to succeed. Not for me to make money, for you to make money, because you won't be causing trouble. The second criteria that I have is that you can't be a hater. You can't be a prick. You can't be a woke person who wants to draw attention to yourself and whine and complain and cause problems. And you can't be a whiner. Now you say, Paulie, how can I discern? How would I be able to discern? How would you be able to discern if I'm that? Well, the 3 references that you have to submit will help me. Now, people who are used as references for jobs generally always try to say the greatest thing about folks, but I have a way, and boy, I've perfected it a lot lately in my life, that I have a way of detecting and discerning whether or not somebody is a hater or a prick or a whiner or a woke person. And I'll just gladly say, you know what, we're not interested in having you as a distributor because I don't want the problems. I don't want to deal with people who just say that how they work in ways that how they can't accomplish things and want to cause trouble versus folks who say, hey, I can do it and I'm a lover, not a hater. The third way is that you need to be able to cooperate with other people and other distributors. In other words, you have to be willing to pick up the phone and say, you know what, I don't have time now, John, but hey, let's talk later, because that other distributor contacted you and wants to work with you, or someone else within the company wants to talk to you and work with you. You have to be someone who understands the very rudimentary aspects of somebody's plans. In other words, you have to understand plans as we develop them. We'll show you how we fully develop them. You have to understand that from a very basic level. And you have to want to solicit 20 fully developed plans a year. That's your only goal. You have to solicit 20 fully developed plans. Now, between September of 2023 and September of 2025, 2 years, I'm going to do 1,000 plans myself. We're going to notch it up on the site. We're building the platform and whatnot, which averages out to about 40, 41, 42 plans a month that I'm going to go after. There's no way I'm not going to be able to do that as I fully develop, as I solicit plans and fully develop them. And then we'll close them at the end to get them funded. But the ability for you to get a plan is basically this. Hi, hey Jim, how you doing? I'm a distributor with the Main Street Market Exchange, a fantastic company, the new stock market in town, and we try to help folks get what they want by developing a plan of some business you might want to get into. And if you or someone you know, like a daughter or son or friend or a grandchild, wants to do a plan to get that, so we can put it up on the Main Street site for them to get funded, we'd love to talk to you. Now, that's easy to do, honestly, it is. But if you find that what I just said was hard to do, then you're not going to be able to understand the core aspect of the Main Street Market Exchange. And I don't think, no matter what you choose to focus on, in other words, you can just focus on flipping houses. In other words, you're in Los Angeles and you want to talk to a really cool guy in Philadelphia, a distributor who flips houses, and say, Jim, my mentor and I on the phone, can you steer us in the right way? That's what you want to focus on 24/7. That's cool, but you have to understand the very basic aspect of the Main Street Market Exchange, which is plans. We're here to serve people's plans and for people to get what they want, for them to be invested in. Pretty cool concept. So if you're not able to at least, speak and say, hey, this is what we do, this is what I do, and you're not able to do those 20 initial fully developed plans, then we're probably not a fit. So if you're hungry, great. If you're not a whiner, not a prick, great. And if you're able to simply talk to somebody like a normal human being to understand the core aspect of the Main Street Market Exchange for those 20 fully developed plans, so we can put them up on the site, then, if you can do it, great. If you can't, then you don't meet our criteria. What about some benefits? Well, I could give you thousands of benefits. No, I couldn't, not thousands, but let me just give you 5, because there are 5 benefits which I think are really cool that you may not understand for being a distributor with the Main Street Market Exchange, that are cool for you. And the first thing is that you are going to be part of a team of like-minded, genuine, positive, empowering, cool, hardworking people. Okay, along with your mentor to motivate you to do stuff. That's a winning formula. A lot of folks are out there on their own saying, boy, what am I going to do? How am I going to make it? What's my future going to be? Well, get on a good team, and the Main Street Market Exchange is a fantastic team, and is going to be a growing team of really cool people that help other folks within the distributorship area. Number 2, you get to see an incredible amount of plans of folks that want to do stuff first. I could go on for this forever, but you have first looks at all the plans that are going to be uploaded to the Main Street site. An example is one time my dad and I were coming back from Philadelphia, and we stopped at an Italian ice place, and we got an Italian ice and a pretzel. My dad was a pretzel guy. And he said, Paul, this is a winner. Now, my dad ran a trust department. He was a smart guy. He goes, Paul, this is a winner. This is incredible. Look at the lines here. This is delicious gelato. We got to get this for the Valley, which is north of Philadelphia. And I got back and I called and they said, sir, you missed it by 2 months. The person has the license and they're going to open up their 7 locations in the Lehigh Valley. I said, okay, thanks. But with the Main Street Market Exchange, you get to see things first. Every new thing that comes out first. So if you want to participate in that, or your daughter or your friend or a guy, hey, I know a guy who wants to do this, they can participate and you'll see it first. With thousands of ideas, new cell phone companies, moving companies, replacing Uber, or writing the software. And I mean, there's a zillion ideas out there that are going to be first, and you can get to see a lot of really great ideas first. The third reason or benefit that by dealing with the Main Street Market Exchange is you're going to be at your own watering hole. What do you mean by that? Or what do I mean by that? Well, Wall Street has their own watering hole, and all the money goes up there to their watering hole all day, and all the lions and tigers and bears are at that watering hole getting nourished by that big watering hole. We at the Main Street just want to build our own watering hole, a little tiny separate watering hole where we can be invested in, and we can take those investments and buy and trade them, whatever, and work with each other. So it's, we know we're not going to overcome Wall Street. I have no illusions, or delusions, I should say, but we want to have our own watering hole. And it reminds me when I was at LaSalle University and I was graduating and I wanted to know what route I wanted to take, and I talked to two guys. See, I was a young guy and I was not too proud. I always reached out and said, hey, what can I do? How can I make this better? How can I go the right course? And I went to lunch with two guys, one up in Manhattan, and I remember me and another two guys were looking out over the Central Park, this beautiful penthouse. And he said, hey, Paul, just make sure, when I asked him what should a young guy like me do, because I was contemplating Wall Street, he said, Paul, just make sure you're at a watering hole. I said, okay. And I thought I knew what he meant, but I just let it go, and we parted ways. Fine, man. Came back, had lunch with a guy close to home, Mr. Greenberg. I remember, God bless him, and he said the exact same thing. He said, Paul, whatever you do, just try your best. You're a smart guy. Just try your best to get to a watering hole. And I said, Mr. Greenberg, I said, what do you mean a watering hole? And he said, Paul, you got to be where the money is and the action is. You got to be an attorney or a banker or an accountant or a real estate person or somebody in business where you're always around where stuff is happening, where business is happening, so that you can jump in when the circumstances allow, so that you can benefit from that, being at that watering hole. And I never forget when he told me it was a really cool thing. And the Main Street Market Exchange is a watering hole, 24/7, 365 watering hole, where you get to continuously look. It's pretty cool at what folks are trying to accomplish, just to say, hey, do I want to participate there with them or help them or mentor them, whatever it is you choose, but it's a pretty cool place. The fourth benefit you get from the Main Street Market Exchange that folks may or may not be thinking about, but I think you should start thinking about it real soon, just a suggestion from an old guy. The fourth thing is it's almost a defensive mechanism against AI. Now, we could talk for 5 days about AI, the positive stuff and the negative stuff that are going to happen with AI. But what AI is going to do, and it's doing already, it's going to profoundly change tons of stuff. Profoundly change some stuff in a good way, might give me my eyesight back, or hear, people's hearing and stuff like that. But it's also going to have, on the flip side of the coin, it's going to profoundly change a ton of stuff in a very, very, very negative way. And let me just give you one thought to ponder about AI as you consider what I'm saying. Previously, technologies have helped us as a people. The engine, car engine, computer, the iPhone, technical advances in medicine, different ways to do things with some robotics to do stuff, and machines. They've helped us. They've helped humans to do things better previously. AI, unfortunately, is going to replace humans in a lot of ways, in a lot of negative ways. And we can go into that, but we won't. But just think of it yourself. From relationships to pornography to taking over industries to taking away jobs to a zillion different ways you're going to look at it. AI is going to be an incredibly destructive force for humanity. And so dealing with the Main Street Market Exchange is a way that you have access to other folks that are really cool and really doing stuff, and you'll be able to offset the negative aspects of AI and the depressing aspects that it'll bring by being part of a group of really cool folks with constant opportunities to adapt. You just won't be out there by yourself. The fifth way I think I want to explain how the Main Street Market Exchange will help a lot of folks is basically threefold, and it pertains to fear. I don't care who you are, I don't care what you're doing. Fear comes into play when you're trying to accomplish something, especially in business, where no matter how confident you are, you're going to ask yourself, is this going to work? Is what I'm trying to accomplish, is it going to work? Am I doing the right stuff? I mean, I'm putting all this time and all this energy, and there's a fear in the back of most folks' mind that says, man, is it gonna work? Is what I'm gonna do gonna work? And while we don't have the capacity at the Main Street Market Exchange to say yes it is and guarantee that, I will tell you that by dealing with the Main Street Market Exchange, you're dealing with a place that's we're interested in solutions, not in whining and complaining. So instead of dealing in the sea of negativity that's out there, you'll never get it done, it'll never work, especially those close to you. It'll never work, you'll never do it, it's stupid, and then all the other negativity that's out there in the world, racism, you're a hater, you're a white supremacist, that we're submerged in 24/7, 365. You're going to be dealing with people that are positive, especially with your mentor, that are empowering, that are encouraging, that are positive, that are looking to offer solutions, that are saying, hey man, keep up the good work. What you're doing there is fantastic. So, the fear of failure is always there, but it's great if you're operating in a sea of empowerment instead of a sea of negativity. And especially when we all have that little guy or gal in the back of our head, in addition to all the other negative stuff that's saying, hey Paul, this ain't gonna work, it may not work, and it's trying to dissuade you. So it's always good to swim in a clean sea of empowerment than it is to swim in a dirty sea of negativity. Or is this gonna work, am I gonna fail? The second way of looking at it from a fearing aspect is basically twofold. Number one, what can I do? What is it that can I do if this doesn't work or that doesn't work or that's not a fit? Well, we have constant ideas to tap into. And the second way to look at it is also, along with your mentor, when you're asking yourself, am I doing stuff the right way? That fear, I'm working hard, but not only is it gonna work, but am I doing it the right way? And it reminds me of my recruiting days where I was making, I had a recruiting business where I was recruiting bankers and calling on presidents and senior vice presidents of commercial lending groups and placing lenders there. And I said to myself, you know what, I'm working like a dog and I'm making placements, but I think I could do it different. I'm gonna seek out and find the number one person in the world to see if I'm doing it the right way. I want to know, because it's a fear of you're doing it the wrong way, because I thought I could do better. So I called Steve Finkel. I found him. Steve Finkel's out in St. Louis. I bought his books. I bought his training tapes, and occasionally I would write a note to Steve. And Steve, when I call him, he says, "Boy, you're the only one that writes me a handwritten note." And Steve trains recruiting offices all over the country, all over the world. And I try to pick his brain, to be honest with you, sometimes, about if I was doing it the right way. And he said, well, what are you doing? What's your close ratio? How many calls? And he would say things like, what are you doing here? And I said, well, I'm typing up stuff and then sending him out little. Now he goes, don't do that. No, it's a waste of time. You're wasting hours doing that. Just pick up the phone and call him. I said, okay. And he goes, are you using a 5x8 card system, index card system for your job orders? I said, no. He goes, well, start doing it. It's going to save you thousands of hours, and you're going to make more placements. Instead of inputting all the stuff in your computer, you can get your person to input your candidates in the computer. That's okay, but your job order should be on a 5x8 filing card, so you can pull out 30 cards for January and call the people you said you'd follow up with. Made perfect sense. It blew my numbers out of the water. So by dealing with the Main Street Market Exchange and your mentor, you're going to constantly be on that idea of, am I doing it the right way? And you're going to be confident, and confidence breeds a lot of success. The third way, as I ramble on about how it helps you with fear, is in very much like the first two in overcoming your fear, is it tells you basically if you're steering yourself every day in the right direction. In other words, you wouldn't call your dentist up if you needed eye surgery like I do. You wouldn't call your landscaper to fix your car, and you wouldn't call your plumber to rewire your house. I mean, there might be nice landscapers and dentists and plumbers, but they're not exactly what you need. You need the right approach on a daily basis. And along with your mentor, which we really strongly suggest that you have a mentor, a cool person who's going to steer you and not lie to you, give you really good ongoing support, that they volunteer, that they work with you, like an elderly person with a lot of experience who's cool and wants to work with you, that you're going to be doing the right approach every day. not just, what can I do, or am I doing it the right way? And they steer you once in a while, but you're also going to be with somebody who says, hey, we got to regroup and redirect our efforts because we're not getting it. And that alone is worth $1 zillion to you, for you to be able to succeed with the Main Street Market Exchange. So I think the notion of us, the fifth benefit here at the Main Street Market Exchange, helping you to overcome your fear by dealing with folks who are genuine and positive and empowering and cool, and not backstabbing, negative, wrong people to be talking about business. I mean, you think about it in your own life. With all the stuff that you're trying to learn and trying to do, isn't it amazing how oftentimes that you still go to the same drinking buddy at the bar, or the golf partner, or the same person within your family who's just totally negative and nothing will ever work. You still oftentimes go to those folks and expect a different result. And it's almost like you got to catch yourself and say, hey, look, I got to change direction of what. You still drink and play golf and talk to your family members, but I got to go to the right folks to gear my business life and be a part of a team of the right folks, instead of being out there on my own trying to figure it out when oftentimes you can't figure it out. So being a distributor at the Main Street Market Exchange is phenomenal. It's fantastic. You're dealing with other like-minded folks. It's encouraging. So I think it's the greatest opportunity that you can get involved in, because we're just going to continue to build the Main Street Market Exchange, and to build our stock market, so to speak, for the little guy, and to build hundreds and thousands of plans for Americans so that they can get what they want, and that is totally cool. So consider a distributorship for yourself, or possibly someone so that they can be part of, or you can be part of, a great team with us here at the Main Street Market Exchange. Thank you so much for listening. I'm so glad you had a chance, and what do you want to do? God bless. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.